Hello, and welcome back to Behind the Post. My next guest is going to blow you away. Joining me here today is the social media and community manager at OpenPhone. When she's not busy tinkering around the SaaS brand building space, you can find her on social media under the handle at These Chapters. Please welcome to the show, Christina Lee. Christina, are you ready to go behind the post with me?
I'm so ready. Let's do this.
Amazing. I'm so excited to finally have you on the show. You've been on my list since day one, so I'm so excited that I'm finally sitting down with you. Your passion and expertise shines through in everything that you do, so I can't wait to pick your brain and learn a few tips from you. But before we dive into the social of it all, could you just give us a brief look at your professional journey and how you found yourself at OpenPhone?
Yeah, sure. So it's funny. Somebody the other day had asked me, oh, like, did you always want to be a social media manager? And I'm like, I don't think any social media managers have ever thought like, I want to be a social media manager. But
Mhm.
actually, it was just something that I think growing up with social, it was something that I found that I not to say that I was very good at, but something that I was interested in. And it was always available to me. But turning it into a job during my internship in college, I want to actually become a political speech writer because
Hmm.
I wanted to like influence a wide range of audiences. So a lot of my internship, it was always social media, like running some state rep social media account and all this other stuff. And then from there, I went into more of like, all right, let's talk about how to attract customers and ads. So I went from the political space and I moved more into consumer marketing.
Mhm.
And I worked for a small leather goods company. And then I was like, okay, now I'm really ready. Then I started working for a corporate company doing their social media pages. And then I got recruited to OpenPhone after I started working at Panadoc for a while, which was
Mhm.
super cool because Panadoc was actually the first company where I got into the SaaS environment, so the tech space,
Mhm.
and OpenPhone. How I got to them was sort of like it wasn't one of those situations where I had to apply for the job or anything like that.
Yeah.
Our co-founder actually reached out to me and she was like, hey, I've seen what you've been doing on social, would you just like to have a conversation? And it was really as simple as that, where we just kind of like hit it off. And I heard
Yeah.
the passion behind her story of why she started her company. And I was really attracted to the whole nature of like being able to build something from the ground up, because
Mhm.
Panadoc was already at a position where, they like, it's very well known. A lot of people use their product. And I feel like with OpenPhone, we're still in the beginning stages of it, which is super great.
Mhm.
And it's really fun and exciting. And thinking about like my career and how I can make the most impact was probably what got me to OpenPhone.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. And there's so much room to grow and so many new things to test and try. So that's an amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you're there. And I also love that, just like the power of social in itself that led you to Open Phone, because like
Yeah.
you have such a strong personal brand. And I think that just proves like the power of social right there.
Yeah, yeah. Which is funny because the term personal branding, it wasn't something that like I ever thought about. And I think
Mhm.
it was because like with the whole, pandemic, and especially with LinkedIn, because I actually, funny enough, I only started posting on LinkedIn a little bit more like after I had started at Panadoc. And it was mostly because I had applied for another position when I wanted to break into tech. And one of the reasons why they told me that, I'm not a good fit was because I didn't have a LinkedIn presence. They were like, oh, well, she's not very strong
Wow.
on LinkedIn, which was really interesting because I always take feedback very seriously and things like that,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to interviews, because we know how tough it is.
Yeah.
And when the one thing they said was like, "Oh, she's not very good at LinkedIn," I'm like, "Okay, well, I will learn then."
Yeah.
And so now I've seen so many benefits from it, from people just sharing like, their thoughts. Because LinkedIn isn't what it used to be like a few years ago, where people just kind of like post their, jobs and update
Mhm.
their resume and then that's it. Now people actually are like thought leaderships behind everything that they do, which I
Mhm.
absolutely love.
Yeah, that's where I'm starting to grow more, because I actually used to be a teacher. So I didn't go to school for
What are
marketing. I
you?
taught fifth grade for a year. I taught first grade. So yeah, I am just starting to now like really grow my LinkedIn presence more because I wasn't on LinkedIn before because I was teaching and teachers don't really use LinkedIn as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, so I've noticed that a lot of social media managers don't have a huge presence. I mean, there are a few that I've seen that are like huge thought leaders and they're posting a lot, but I've noticed like some of my friends, social media manager friends aren't posting a lot because I think we kind of get stuck in like the day to day of our own, like
Yeah.
creating our own content for the brand, and just like kind of in the weeds sometimes that we forget about like personal branding and building our
Yeah.
own presence. So it's something that I'm honestly trying to get better at. So we could talk about that later on. I'd love to know a few of your
Yeah.
tips around that. But for anyone tuning in, could you just give us a brief rundown of what Open Phone is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I guess to put simply, Open Phone is our company. We give you essentially like a business number through an app.
Okay.
So and when we think about it, a lot of businesses rely on phone as sort of like their critical channel of communication and with their customers. And so our focus is mainly to provide a modernized and simple way of communication solution, and it's a product that doesn't require an external hardware. So the fact that you could just like, simply download an app and then you can have that
Mhm.
whole separation from personal number versus business number. I mean, to me, it's like we should never be giving out our personal
Yes.
number ever. But there's so many benefits, especially nowadays with Open Phone, you could do a lot with it. Not just calls and texts and stuff like that, but you can actually like send auto replies, you can schedule messages,
Wow.
you can set up business hours. So it's super beneficial. And I think it's very cost effective for businesses,
Mhm.
especially for us, it's like more of the small businesses that really like, can't afford having everyone have different numbers and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a really good solution for that.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I'm dying to jump to the social now. So I feel like you're a jack of all trades when it comes to social, and you've been doing this for quite some time now. So I'd love to know how you kind of approach social. Do you have like a certain philosophy that you bring into your strategy?
So I think with social, it's really a lot about not only understanding trends and all of that stuff, but it's really listening to your audience and what it is that you're trying to convey. So what I mean by that is a lot of times people just think like, oh, because we have a business, we need to be on social and we need to be on every platform. But really it's like, what is your purpose behind what you're doing? Like, what is the point of
Yeah.
you being on social? Because I've seen companies who've done it really well, where they're just kind of like, we're just here for brand awareness purposes. And that's all we're doing. Like, we're here to entertain, we're here to have some fun and
Hmm.
all that. And then there are some people who approach it more of like, we're going to use social as our marketing avenue, where that's where all of our ad spend is. We just want to make sure people buy from us and yada, 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 like that. So my approach on social has always been more so of like making sure our company values get set out there and really like, I don't know, tapping into the conversations that are happening around us, because I
Hmm.
always value more of like, um, the things people are saying versus like what other companies are doing. We should try to copy that. It's more of like,
Yeah.
what do we want to get out of it? And what are we
Hmm.
trying to like share from our point of view? So it's
Yeah.
just having like, I guess, it's just kind of having a foot in the conversation, I guess. So,
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's all about, not just being on social because everyone's on social, and it's finding the information that you want to convey to your audience and only posting what's valuable to them. You're
yeah.
not just posting to post, you're not just pushing out volume. I always say value over volume because at the
Yes.
end of the day, and something that I've noticed, I actually kind of pulled back on the amount of posts that were going out, and I saw our engagement kind of skyrocket because,
Mhm.
when you're just posting all of these posts out there, your audience can only see so much, and then posts get lost in the shuffle. So I always say value over volume.
Yeah.
Um,
And we think about it from like the audience perspective as ourselves too, right? When we see stuff, we get overwhelmed so easily with too much
mhm.
information.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's almost like you don't want to overload people and stress them out. That's not what we're here to
Yeah.
do, you know? And I feel like sometimes people just feel like they get that panicky sense where they're like, no, we have so much good information that we want to share out there. But then sometimes like, take
Mhm.
it a minute. I always look at social as sort of like a dinner party that you go to. You know, you get excited to share things and talk to people, but it's like you don't want to be the only person talking all the time.
Yeah.
You want to give people an
Yeah.
opportunity to talk back to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what social is all about. Social
Yeah,
is meant to be
being
social.
social.
Yeah, and starting conversations and yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I always think it's super interesting to ask my guests about posting cadence, and hear all the different types of responses. So, what would you say is the perfect mix to be posting on LinkedIn and Twitter? Should we be posting on LinkedIn twice a day, or how many tweets have you found to be optimal? Could you just kind of like share a little insight about
Yeah.
what you've learned over the years being in social?
So I guess it's all different for different people because there's a lot, it depends on, because I think for some companies, maybe we'll talk with LinkedIn first. I think for some companies, they might post a couple of times a day because they have like, 500K followers and they're spread all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some people that's more small like ours where our predominant amount of audience is based in the West Coast. So for
Mm-hmm.
us, like I always say, once a day is fine, and we don't post no
Yeah.
more than 5 times a week. But it might not be the same if your audience is a wider range, and there's different targeting measures and all this other stuff. But for me, best practice has always been like once a day, 5 times a week max.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think again, quality over quantity and all that other stuff. So I don't think we need to do that much. Twitter, though, Twitter is a little different. Twitter for me has still been a learning curve. Like I haven't perfected Twitter yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Twitter, it's all about happening in the conversation now. So I think tweeting multiple times a day is almost expected.
Yeah.
So with that, I can understand people just continuously posting 2-3 times a day, and they could even post on weekends and all this other stuff. So it's really just like, if you have something to say on Twitter, then I guess just say it.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, or I guess, excuse me, Meta. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what people are doing on Facebook anymore, to be quite honest with you. Like, are
Yeah.
we still just all kind of like floating about,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Instagram for me has been kind of the same, where it's trending behind Facebook right now.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, I would say post a couple of times a day if you can. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Do whatever feels right for you and what's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Even on my own personal account on TikTok, I'm posting like 2 or 3 times a day, but then I'll go like 3 days without posting because if I have nothing to
Mm-hmm.
say. But TikTok is a whole nother ball game, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to talk about TikTok for a second. Because I have kind of seen your TikTok grow. You guys grew pretty fast once you started your TikTok. So I'd love to know, do you have like a certain strategy around TikTok, or are you just trying to build brand awareness and have fun with it? Or like, do you have any set goals with TikTok?
At the moment, we're really just trying to have fun with it. We're kind of like throwing things at the wall and seeing what
Mm-hmm.
sticks.
Yeah.
Actually, my social producer and I are coming up with some content pillars that we can try to like strategize a little bit more. But TikTok is so new for us, and because we had set our own goals of what our priority platforms are, and right now for us, it's LinkedIn and Twitter as our main
Yeah.
focus. And TikTok is sort of like that fun avenue that we feel like we could let loose a little bit and show off our
Mm-hmm.
brand personality in a way. But at the moment, it's really just about let's have fun with it and see what works. And
Yeah.
what we've seen though is anytime we post anything regarding hiring, because that's such a hot topic right now, especially with
Yeah.
remote work or work from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot of positive reaction from that. And I actually
Mm-hmm.
think like there was one video that sort of like took off where we had thousands of applicants, and
Wow.
our talent team was just kind of like, thanks guys.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things to go through now.
Yeah. It's a
But
good problem to have though.
it is a good problem to have. It's a very good problem to have. And
Yeah.
I think if brands kind of like don't take this opportunity right now to jump on TikTok, then they're gonna just like miss the boat, because I think now of all times, I mean, even now, I feel like when we had started our account, I was like, we're a little late to the game, considering like there are companies who have been on it for a good while now.
Yeah.
But I personally, I just love TikTok, and I love how non-stressful it is compared to like all the other pages. And I think because for the most part, it's the one platform where we're not like, oh, here are all the strict rules that you have to follow, post at this time and this time and this time, because no one has it figured out on TikTok yet.
Yeah.
No one can like positively say this strategy is going to work, because that's not how that works.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Just when you think you got it, TikTok's like, nah.
Yeah, and TikTok, it's so funny. The videos that you don't expect to do well always do well. The ones that literally was like, oh, here's the sound, let me just record it real quick. It takes 30 seconds. And then when you actually have like kind of a little strategy behind a post, it just doesn't do well.
It does. It flops so hard, and you're like,
Yeah.
I thought that was so good.
You're like, oh,
you like showed all your friends. You're like,
Mhm.
look at my TikTok. Look how great this was. And then meanwhile, that other one that you did in the app that's like
Yes.
5 seconds long, that's so embarrassing, takes off, and you're just like, oh,
Exactly.
okay.
And I'm always sending them to like my family. I'm like, can you like our TikTok? Like, show some love. It's funny,
There
but
was
sorry, go
there
ahead.
was this one TikTok video on my own personal account that got like 1.8 million views. And I'm telling you, Olivia, I didn't know how to act after that. I was literally like, there was that trend at the time. There was a trending thing where the girls like had a suitcase and sunglasses. They're like, is Hollywood gonna call me, or am I gonna call
Oh, I remember seeing that one. Yeah.
So it was around that time when that happened, and I was just like, so is this where I am an influencer now? And also my whole personality changed.
It really only takes one. It takes one video.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I got started, like growing my following on my
And
personal
yours is
TikTok.
so great. I love yours, by the way. Like your
Thank
personal
you.
account, I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
think
funny.
it's so great. Like I love how like your personality just shines through in there, and it's so great. Like
Thank
you do
you.
such a good job.
Thank you. It really started, it started just as like being on it during the pandemic, like doing the fun, silly, like tie-dye challenges and dancing. And then one day I was like, why don't I start posting what I post on Instagram on TikTok? So I did a Amazon favorites video, and that got like 2.5 million views. And then that just kind of kickstarted. So I kind of posted similar things, and I've tested here and there with other types of content. Like I'm currently training for a marathon. So I did like a running vlog, and that one has been doing really well. But then I also post like cleaning videos that do really well. So it's just funny to kind of see like you don't like really necessarily need to have like a niche. Like even if you're a brand, you can talk about like the recruitment side of it. You can talk about like focus in on like a persona, and you can kind of do different avenues. You don't need to focus on one niche. So that's what I really love about TikTok. And we're really
and I was trying to tell people this too, where I'm like, you should, this is the one platform where you should not feel like you have to niche down compared to anywhere else. Like it's the one thing where it's like, sure, you can have some content themes or pillars or whatever, but you really don't have to stick to one thing, because you just don't know what's going to work or what's like people care about. And I personally, like as humans anyway, I feel like, you know, we're all made up of different hobbies and habits, and you know, we're all like, there's so many different aspects of who we are. So why would we want to follow something that's just the same repetitive content every day? That gets so boring. I wouldn't want to follow that.
And especially if you're a brand, like you're not just going to be posting about your product all day long. Like, that's not interesting. You know, you want to post about your people. You want to post about the fun side of working there. So yeah, TikTok, it's so fun.
It is. Honestly, I feel like you should definitely give not a TED Talk, a masterclass. You should do a masterclass on TikTok. Like you should totally just, I think that'd be so great.
Yeah, we're growing the Oktopost TikTok page now, because we also focus on LinkedIn as our top focus, and then with Twitter. So TikTok is something we're starting to grow now, which is really fun because there are so many, you know, like opportunities for growth and so many fun video ideas. So it's something that we're growing right now, which is really fun. But I've loved watching like your TikToks from PandaDoc to now at Open Phone. You kill TikTok. So
Oh,
Pick up some tips from you.
I think you and I should just band together and start like working on something, because honestly, you are so much better at it than me. And I can't wait to see Octopus grow to where, you're going to take it. It's an
Yeah.
exciting journey to watch.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want to touch on personal branding right now. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier on, but I love your presence on LinkedIn and on TikTok too, but LinkedIn particularly. So if anyone is looking to kind of grow their personal brand or really start strengthening it, what tips would you have for them? Because your personal brand is on point. Like I feel like I know you just from following you. And you're so authentic and you're so you. Like you are the same right now as I'm talking to you that you are on LinkedIn. So what tips would you have for anyone looking to strengthen their personal brand?
Yeah, I honestly so I know this sounds super cliche, but really it's just to start writing as much as you can. For me, I have this mindset where I'm like, I never want to apply for a job ever again. And LinkedIn gives you an opportunity to sort of like wear your resume on your sleeve, but not in a way that's like, oh, here are all the things I do, like showing off, but more of like showing the value that you bring to what you're already doing.
Yeah.
And like, who can better explain what you're doing than yourself? But let's say when you're going into a job interview and everyone's always asking you the same questions, like what was your experience like in this, and what was your skill and background in this? How would you approach this? And I started thinking to myself, like, why do we only talk about that in the interview process? Why do we not share that? And like, this is the community building side of it. And I personally have learned so much more reading people's statuses on LinkedIn than I have like taking a class in college about it, and and everybody has some value that they have to add. Like everybody has had different experiences, whether it's like in their job or in their personal lives that has affected them and made them who they are. I think that's worthy to share. And humans are natural storytellers. So it's like a good way to strengthen your LinkedIn presence is to not only be you and yourself and share your experiences, but to also like, I don't know, like take the time out and just, talk about things. And a lot of people get really shy about that because they feel like they have to do this whole polished and like sound like this, very well put together person. But to me, I think the most vulnerable folks on LinkedIn, the ones who have shared not only the ups, but also the downs, are the people that you can relate to the most, and keeping it conversational. And, I've noticed like the format trend is, we're not going to write these really long paragraphs that people are gonna take forever to read. It's very short sentences, it's keeping it concise and to the point. And then I've noticed the best way to have like to sort of build your presence a little bit is actually in the comments. And it's not just on your own posts, it's to comment on other people's posts too, and really like just sharing your input and your opinions and stuff. So yeah, those are my tips right there. Write more. Don't be afraid to, share your stories and all that other stuff. Write more, engage with other people other than just on your post, but on other people's posts as well. Give your opinions and then just have fun with it. Like you don't have to stick to always talking about your job. Like, I mean, I think I've posted about PTO. I've posted about a bunch of random, thoughts of the day or whatever. And I mean, memes even work great too. If you want to talk about memes, there's always a topic for somebody to be able to relate to.
Yeah, that is super helpful. As I know, I'm really trying to find that balance between like being professional, but still being authentic, because I can go on my Instagram stories and just talk, and I have a YouTube channel, like I can vlog, but I feel so comfortable doing that, but I'm still trying to find the balance between how do I be me and be unfiltered but still be professional. So those tips are super, super helpful. So thank you. We're nearing the end of the show here. I have a few more questions. What would you say are some tips or greatest pieces of advice if someone is looking to get into social? Because I feel like this is something that I would have loved to hear when I was still teaching, looking to break into social. What would you say are your biggest tips?
My biggest tip. There's so many. But I think my biggest one is to not take it personal. So when you're running a brand account or a company account or anything like that, you have to remember that even though you are sort of like heading that tone and voice that you're throwing out there and stuff, and people are reacting to it and they're talking to it, at the end of the day, it's not you if people are reacting poorly, or if they are like, feeling disgruntled about anything like that. Like, don't take anything on social personal, because it can get very easy to feel overwhelmed, especially when it comes to, having to engage with your community, having to be online all the time. And as the social people, we are sort of like the forefront of every situation that happens. And we kind of like catch all the fires and the punches and all this other stuff. But, when it comes time to it, it's really like, after work hours, shut it off. Don't take it personal. Like, don't go to sleep at night being worried about what happened throughout the day. So that would be my biggest advice for anybody who wants to get into this game of social media as a job.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love it, but it's crazy. And I have a really hard time shutting off at the end of the day and like dreaming captions and just thinking.
And then you're just thinking like, oh, am I going to miss out on something if I take PTO, or, am I going to like, is something going to happen? Like some astronomical, like bad breaking news is going to happen. I'm going to sleep through it. There's so many things, but it's like, handle the things that we can handle and we have control of, and things that are outside of that, then it is what it is,
exactly. Yeah. We're all human, we're just, if you don't, I'm a team of one. I'm looking to hire someone soon here, so I'll have another person to kind of help me out soon. But
I'm so glad that they're going to hire somebody for you, because honestly, like, and since my social producer had joined the team, I feel so much lighter.
Yeah. Like a human again.
Yes. Well, you can balance a little bit, because it's hard.
It's really hard, especially, we are in a creative role and we have to be creative 24/7, and there is so much to do, when creating content is so time consuming, and everything has to be valuable, and you want to hook your audience, and you want to convey the message of your brand, like or the value of your brand. There's just so much that goes into it. So
when people say stuff like, it's just social, how hard can it be? You're like, it took me 3 hours to write a caption. That's how hard it could be. 3 hours to write a caption, and then 2 hours for it to go under review, and then for them to say, I don't like it.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Back to the drawing board. Well, I have one last question for you that I ask all of my guests, and I'm very excited to hear your answer here. So what is one thing you wish your colleagues in other departments knew about social media?
I would wish that they know that social is really, especially in the brand realm of brand building and all this other stuff, it's a team effort. It's not going to be the company page that grows your account. It's really going to be the collective efforts of the employees and, everyone coming together. And whether it's building their personal brand, which is what I actually talk to my colleagues about, where I'm like, do you guys want to post on LinkedIn more? Here are some topics that we can do, and amplifying that message of, because people are going to trust other people more versus the brand account talking. 100%. We can share the same message, but like, for example, if I were to talk about, work from anywhere, people would be more relatable to me versus if I were to go out as open phone saying, no, remote work is great, So that would be the thing that I wish everybody knew about social, is that it's a collective team effort. It's not just the company.
I always say the true power is in the voice of your employees. That's where the power is. Like, that's how you relate to people. And when you relate to someone, then you start to build the trust of the brand that they represent. So it really is in the voice of your employees. 100%.
Yes. Employee advocacy is such a big portion of social, and it's so hard to get, because you don't want to tell people like you have to be on social, because I get it. A lot of people, especially those who don't work in social, they're like, I'd rather not. It gets really exhausting. I get it, but I just wish like it would be more of like at a caliber where everybody realizes how important it is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I loved hearing all about your experience, and I have so many tips that I'm taking away from this episode. So thank you so much for joining me behind the post.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this. I love your podcast. I think that this is great. And I really appreciate you inviting me on here.
Of course. I'll have to have you back again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.